I think we're live. We're not sure. We're going to go with it anyway, but welcome to the show, ladies and gents. Obviously, this is the WGL EU, and we are into, I believe, actually Matchday 3. So we're getting into this super week aside now. We have a lot more action coming up for you guys at home today. But in case you guys missed it, and I know I did, I wasn't here, I was a terrible person, I was being ill elsewhere. There were some great games actually on match day 2, I believe, with a lot of upsets going through. And obviously I'm joined by this beautiful man beside me, Laughter WOT, who'll be bringing you more of the analysis than I can ever dream of doing. And Melly for all the social media, who'll be joining us a little later. But yes, take me through what happened that previous match day.
So I think that the two biggest upsets, well, let's start with Denial versus Freefall, the new Finnish team coming into Season 4 of the Wargaming League Europe. I think Denial kind of struggled going in. You could see their confidence wasn't really up there for some reason. Maybe without Elian, they are struggling as a team in general, but you could see Freefall were going to make every single play count. They're going to make that kind of not very confident team pay for their mistakes. For instance, the one that really sticks out for me is on Mines, where Denial from the south pushed 3 1390s on the hill. Freefall pushed 2. So it was a 3 versus 2 situation. Obviously, that goes in favor of Denial. But yep. Freefall immediately had the confidence to push off the hill onto Nia Pazzoni in the IS3 and Meritorious in the IS3 and took one of those IS3s down and managed to get the focus fight. It was a pretty even exchange in general. But Freefall just had the better tactics coming through, and that scoreline ended up 2-1 for the Finnish team, new team Freefall. So a massive game for them. Pretty
Huge.
Impressive.
Very impressive. But the one I want to look at, the one that I think most of us are looking at, is that scoreline between Lucky Karaki and Schoolbus. Now, Schoolbus, give us a little history. Who were these guys, and what on earth was happening there to see this scoreline? Obviously, This is the match we're all talking about. What on earth happened?
Well, it started off really, really fast. It started off great for Lucky Karaki, in fact, because they basically put 3 1390s, pretty much the whole force up towards the southwest of the map. They got a real good hiding spot, and then they just sprung the trap, and Schoolbus, they walked straight into it. 2 of the 1390s went down almost immediately, within like 5 seconds. So immediately, 16 points in the lead Lucky Karaki had. But incredibly, Schoolbus still managed to come back. Apoel, he did, I think, 2.7k damage in that game. So, I mean, that was just an absolutely insane game for them. I mean, I have to say that guy can really play despite not having the support, despite being completely on the back foot.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Magus and yourself actually mentioned that Matt is one of the team captains and also one of the leaders of the team, maybe second in command there to the main captain, but he does a lot of the strategies. So for a player like him to be hitting that damage, that's pretty impressive overall.
Yeah, he's really good. I mean, he's been in the team for a while, and he's definitely a steadfast member, you could say. But I'm looking forward to see how he goes through the games and if he can stay at the top, because, yeah, he's definitely an impressive player. And then as we went through, I think Ensk and Steps, Lucky Karaki had real confidence. They were just, I could see that almost their annoyance with that giving the game away on Prokhorovka, that carried into Ensk and Steps. Cliff obviously went to Schoolbus because, it's Schoolbus on Cliff. They're absolutely insane. And finally, Winter's Himmelsdorf brought the scoreline 3-2 in favor of new team Lucky Karaki. So massive congratulations to them. I have to say, I never expected it. I think this is already such a big upset. Obviously, Schoolbus has had a lot of changes. Previously, Synergy, as for instance, Pavel, their star player, left. Also, Stalker, their previous team captain, left as well. So a lot of changes for them, but I would have never expected this.
No, most of us didn't. Now, let's look at the one other result, I believe, that came in from that day. Let's have a little look through. Obviously, Denial, Freefall, we already did that one, but it's that C-Play scoreline as well. Take me through what happened here, because Virtus.pro on paper are actually a very solid team there, and I'm kind of surprised seeing that scoreline. Well,
on paper, they are the second best team in the world, only just to Navi by, I think, 5 to 10%. That was C-Play. They had, obviously, a set amount of tactics, and they obviously knew which maps they were good at, which one they weren't good at. Cliff, they came very, very close to beating Virtus.pro. Ruenberg, they came close to beating Virtus.pro. Mines, they came close, but they were just camping. At the end of the day, C-Play, a very passive team, very tactical team. But Virtus.pro, at the end, they're just the better team, and they managed to take the scoreline. I think maybe not particularly fair to C play because I think they had more opportunities to win, but at the end of the day, they didn't win, and Virtus.pro did.
So with that in mind, you can see the overall standings so far, to an extent at least, as to who's doing very well there. At the very top, TCM, being solid, I think is the best way to refer to them. Looking like they've come out of this fairly unscathed compared to some of the other big teams, such as Denial eSports, such as School Bus, who seem to have struggled a little bit from the offset. Is this what we expected, or is the overall result another real upset here?
Well, it's pretty funny because TCM Gaming, aka Odemortis, were at the top of the ranking pretty much at this time last season as well.
They were at the top.
After beating the likes of Team Dignitas. So I'm not sure if that's a foreshadowing of what's going to happen here, but it certainly could be a possibility. But I think as we do head towards the middle of the season, which is a little while off still, we'll start seeing everything kind of fit back together like we'd expected. My top 6 has to be Kazna Crew, Denial, School Bus, Virtus.pro, TCM Gaming, and then the 6th spot is probably C Play, maybe a very good team. Evil Panel Squad, Free Fall. I think 4 till 6 probably. I can't really predict it right at this point, but it's a little bit too early to really look into this too much. We still have quite a few match days, 9 match days left to play. Obviously, we just finished Super Week.
So let's start looking towards today's Playday, because that's the one you all guys want to be really looking towards and seeing what we've got coming up. And there are some brilliant games and a lot of proving points for the teams that struggled, especially Denial eSports. As you said, missing their previous captain, who really did take the reins, Elian, now playing for Kazna. How do you think they're going to fare against the Leprechauns? Because the Leprechauns have impressed us on occasion. They're not a bad side. They, I believe, beat Evil Panda Squad, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot of work to be done there, and I think this is a big game for Denial here.
Yeah, it's a game they have to prove to themselves that they can still beat teams. I mean, they've obviously only just lost one game, but they certainly don't want to be losing another game to a new team. And that would be absolutely disastrous. Drooling Leprechauns, obviously, they did pretty well against TCM Gaming. That was only a 2-0 scoreline for TCM's favour.
Yeah.
But they did manage to beat Evil Panda Squad in a very consistent display, I have to say. They were extremely strong in that matchup. So they have got a 50% win ratio at this point. Denial as well, sitting on 50%, winning 2-0 versus the German team Wusa. And obviously, we've just been talking about that game against Freefall.
So now we need to look at School Bus. Another big game, another big proving point for the guys will be the second matchup of tonight. School Bus up against Freefall. Now, Freefall, another team very hard to predict at times. A little bit hit and miss. I think maybe I judged them a little too early from their first play day. But they're certainly looking a little bit better now. Do you think this could be another upset for School Bus, or was that just a little bit of a hiccup earlier on?
I think it could just be a little bit of a hiccup. I think it's always hard to say at this point in time. I think School Bus maybe had a little bit of a slap in the face and some water to wake them up a little bit. Yeah, we can't really say much about their previous game against Lucky Cracky. I think they're going to improve. I think they know what they have to improve after seeing all the mistakes they made. They need a clear shot caller. They need someone who can make the right decision at the right time most of the time, whereas previously they made quite a few wrong decisions. So I think it's going to be a hard game. Freefall looking like they're on their way up, certainly, and they've got the motivation. Now they've beaten Denial. But it's going to be tricky for them to beat the likes of School Bus.
Yeah, and then obviously the final game of the day will be Virtus.pro against Wusa. Once again, on paper, I feel this is a done deal almost. But then again, Wusa looked like they improved a touch from Playday to Playday, but they haven't yet really impressed me. Still a little passive for my taste. Don't quite have the confidence in this one in my mind. But Wusa, what are the results like to this point? Has there been any moments that impressed you?
Well, they lost 2-0 to Denial after that extremely slow set of games. I don't think they attacked once. Previous match day, 2-2 against Kazna Crew. Another game I wasn't too impressed on. One of the maps they won because Kazna decided to play really aggressively with the 1390s.
Ensk at the end.
No,
well,
they lost on Ensk as well at the end. But on Mines, they chucked the AMX 1390s forwards and pretty much just gifted the game to Wusa. Then finally on Ensk, they were 2-1 up, and they basically decided to play passively. Every team knows how to beat a team that's playing passively from the south. Right. They surrounded them, send the AMX 5100 in to do the real killing blows towards the middle of the firefight, and you can walk away with a draw in this case between Wusa and Kazakh. So I think for Kazna it would have been a little bit more upsetting than it would have been for Wusa.
So let's look at the first game, obviously, today, and what your predictions are coming into this one, because both teams have been playing fairly well to this point. It's a big game for both sides. Who do you feel has the edge, and why?
I think Denial are very upset with their previous matchup. I think they definitely don't want to repeat the mistakes. They definitely want to beat these teams. They know at the end of the season that, not beating the likes of Drooling Leprechauns, who only joined us, 2 weeks ago in the Wargaming League. So they want to get those wins under their belt. Drooling Leprechauns, if they beat Denial, they'll be happy. It's not maybe a win that they're thinking they can get, but then again, maybe some of the other win wasn't either against EPS. So that always comes to mind. And in terms of the lineups, obviously the normal usual suspects obviously look towards Potomako. Butcher have been impressing me a lot recently. Obviously Meritorious, the model of consistency in my mind, especially in those heavy tanks. And for Drooling Leprechauns, obviously Muppety. Previous Spaller player. The Kempi has also been around the scene for a while. Very consistent Finnish player. Extremely good when he's put under a little bit of pressure. And I have to say, Jack as well. He's been doing.
I think it was Kirex who actually really impressed me too in the last couple of games I watched him in. There's a lot of players in the Leprechaun side that have a lot of potential.
It's a very young team. I just think they need a little bit more experience and a little bit more drive. And as long as they got someone who's keeping their motivation up, I think they're going to be extremely talented.
Well, we need to start looking towards, the skills that we've been seeing. As you can see there, Denial. It's hard to predict these guys. They seem hit and miss without Elian. Sometimes looking great, sometimes not so much. I'm not sold on them just yet. We'll have to see what they can bring today. I think Freefall will be a good matchup against them. The Leprechauns will be a good matchup. So many Finns these days. But I think it'll be a good matchup to see where they're standing. And we'll have to wait to see what they can bring overall, because we are almost ready to get this one underway. And as you can see, the Leprechauns, a bit of an unknown factor come into this, because we didn't really see much of them. Very new lineup, kind of thrown together in essence. A lot of kind of gelling to do as a team. So hopefully they can really start improving on those quite, let's say, talented players they have there. As you said, a young side, a lot of hungry players getting ready to go. And we need to start talking about that first map as well. It's going to be Ensk to begin us off with. City map, something that really, Cast and Crew fumbled on. Previous captain of the team we're about to be watching, playing on that. What are your thoughts? Who's going to be the one to really have the advantage here?
So this is Denial's map pick. They're going to be starting from the northern side. I think for them, it's a map they need to improve on. Denial has been a bit shaky on Ensk previously, as Lemming Trainers Mousesports, their previous titles, but I think they've improved a lot, and they just need to make sure they continue doing that. So I think as a first map choice, it's a pretty good one in general.
Well, we need not say any more. Guys, let's get ready for the first map, Ensk. So, ladies and gents, welcome to the first map. It will be Ensk. As we said, in the north in blue, it's Denial eSports, and in the south in red, it's the Leprechauns. Now, where is your prediction on this map?
So I think Denial will take it. I think they're the stronger team on these kind of maps. I think Drooling Leprechauns will have to look towards the Prokhorovkas and the steps maybe for those wins. You can already see Drooling Leprechauns heading over towards the right side with the majority of their tanks. That's to be expected. We've seen pretty much no teams, maybe Lucky Karaki, heading over towards the city. Most going for that green side push. Sensei heading that one up alongside team captain Muppety. And for Denial, also doing much of the same. That's a little bit unusual. It's kind of 60-40. 40% of the time they head over towards the left side. 60% of the time they just take up those default positions. Obviously, Denial wants to get those cross shots onto the members of Drooling heading across, and they might even connect a couple if they do get lucky.
Yeah, so interesting start from both sides. We'll have to see who really works this one out. As you said, I'd say with you as well, and I agree that the favour will be with Denial eSports, but you never know. Maybe the Leprechauns can cause another upset, but they seem to be using a a strange strategy, but using that 7 line quite heavily. Niaspazoni and Materius will be moving up down the 6 line, so not far apart here. Jack has been spotted. Carmen surely to fall very soon. He's down extraordinarily low in that tier 1. A couple of shots from Curex coming through, and we are seeing a lot of spots being made here, but it looks like Denial Esports want to make a move from this as well, with these IS3s really moving up into position.
Yeah, they saw those 251 Sensei and Curex getting spotted up there because they did miss a couple of shots onto Carmen, the tier 1. He lived a lot longer than he should have, and that's going to give Denial at least some shooting to do, and maybe even a bit of a shooting gallery if they don't be careful. Sensei is already down to 1104 in that AMX 5100, and at the end of the day, Denial only has to really destroy those buildings, that cover, to uncover the big old 5100s, whose camo value is obviously not too big. It's pretty much just a box. So you can already see Denial now on the rotate, heading back around, maybe seeing Message, Muppety, Jack all in a bit too defensive, a little bit too strong positions for them to push forwards. But for me, the interesting thing would be, what can Denial do? Either push, or they can take down the cover of the 250-100s, push those tier 1s across and do as much damage to them as they try and rotate out of there. We'll have to wait and see. And for Drooling Leprechauns, it's more going to be about a game of trying to stay defensive a little bit, send that tier 1 forwards for the sniping shots if they can, make sure they use those IS3s in the right position, because at the end of the day, they're going to be the most key thing here. The two team captains, I think Message also being one of the better players for Drooling Leprechauns, are going to be playing those two. So that's very interesting. But Snakefin Guy is leading up the charge, maybe just he's going pretty aggressive, he's just trying to find some spots out right now for the rest of his team, just to even up that HP.
Yeah, and Zenith actually missing a shot there. Podomako as well being spotted out, so Snake Guy Finn doing the job, and here's Pazzoni being spotted too. So for a little tier 1, he's certainly worked out the opponents. He's going to give a little bit of a glimmer of hope for the rest of the Leprechauns, who are making their way up now. Good shot comes through, Snake Guy Finn goes down, so that small threat dealt with. They do need to be careful, because it looks like the Leprechauns are working out where these guys are, and they can play accordingly to it. Sensei there does receive a shell. Denial still sitting fairly comfortably here, not really pushing out too much, and the Leprechauns seem more willing to get involved here, but Snip doing exactly what Snake Guy Finn did, and getting the information down as well, down that 6 line, right next to Jack and Message. As Materius will let a couple of shells fly, one does connect towards Message, and actually Podomako is going to begin moving up, so maybe Denial just needed a little bit more information given by Snip, and it might be time to make a little bit of a maneuver.
Yeah, but you can see the damage now heading in towards of Denial Esports' favor. Message taking a shot, as you said, Sensei as well. Really for nothing. They got really no information there. That was pretty much gifting Denial about 700, 800, maybe a little bit more HP. So that's going to be a little bit trickier now to go forwards for Drooling Leprechauns, but you can see that their 5100s are kind of getting some, I don't know, like upper ground advantage, I guess you could say, and maybe they can make that work, but also they're just sitting in the middle of a big old field, so as soon as they do get spotted, they're going to get taken down very, very quickly. Count just takes a little bit of damage from Snip, but Snip also gets about the same amount of damage, 78 to 76, pretty much the same. And for Drooling Leprechauns, I think they got to be really careful, and finally the 250-100s do end up rotating out of their Butcher, sitting up in A0, B0. That could be a dangerous position for him if he does go forwards, but I think it'll be even more dangerous for these 250-100s. So both these teams just, trying to find each other's weaknesses, going forwards, going backwards, trying to get some HP advantage, take out those two tier 1. Snip and Count still alive though. I think that might be the next priority, the next objective for Denial and Drooling Leprechauns, but with 4 minutes and 53 seconds left on the clock, we've still got plenty of time, and I think this is not going to end in a draw. Denial obviously want Ensk from the north, and they want to take the win. They are getting better at this map, so I don't think they really want to be giving this one away.
Well, right now, as you said, it looks like Denial Esports are fancying making a small move. Nias Bazzoni, Materius, Zenith, Butcher and Podomako vacating the northeast side of this map and heading down the 4 to 5 line. And they could be going for a small engagement here if they do actually make it down this far. Snip is the furthest forward, and he's obviously just in that tier 1, so not going to be able to do much on his own, but he will have backup in the form of Materius and Nias Bazzoni very shortly. And actually they could go for something, but as you said, 4 minutes, that's it's going to have to be quite down to the wire, and it looks like the Drooling Leprechauns are going to make their move. There's the other tier 1 falling for the Leprechauns. They could be in trouble now.
Yeah, that's going to make it a little bit harder for them to stop the cap if Denial does decide to do that. But you got Zenef, Poto, Mako, and Butcher all rating around their cap, and that might be difficult for Drooling Leprechauns to push around without taking too much damage, without taking a critical amount of damage. We'll just have to wait and see how that one goes down. But Snip and Meritorious have gone forwards, and we're kind of in this weird position where half of Denial is waiting around their base, and half of Denial is waiting around the enemy's base, while Drooling Leprechauns are in between them both. They're sitting pretty much right in the middle of both situations. Message has gone pretty aggressive forwards. He has got support from Kiriax in that AMX 5100. Zenef and Butcher are both waiting. Zenef sitting in the 5100, Butcher sitting in the 5100 as well. So they are going to be able to take down this IS-3 in a matter of seconds if it does go too aggressive.
Yeah, so Butcher, I believe, just catches a glimpse of Message there, so he's well aware of this, but keep your eyes on the other tanks as well. Materius, Niers, Pizzorni, Snip, and Ponomako, now joined by Zenef, are heading down, and it looks like we might see a bit of an engagement coming through. Materius has seen a little bit of damage coming towards him. First real reply on towards any sort of heavy tank, and here comes the Denial side. They're looking to make this one really count. First couple of shells go down. Jack is in trouble, down already a good chunk of health, and he's actually the fairly lowest out of all the big tanks now left alive. Cap underway. Keep your eyes on that timer. Niers Pizzorni's found Sensei and Muppety. This could be dangerous for the Leprechauns. They're not in a position to retake this one. They have to make this one count. Good little reset shot comes in. Materius takes a shell. A little bit of damage back. Sensei receives another. Niers Pizzorni's in trouble. Message has come around the side. No one can really lock him down here. This could be trouble. Potomako and Materius moving forward, trying to find a little bit of an angle. Zenef comes around. Has to deal with Message here. It's going to be a 1v1 brawl pretty much between these two as the clock is ticking. Leprechauns are going to have to make their move pretty fast here and get these shots really counting. Materius has gone low. He's going to go down. Denial, they could be in trouble here, but it has given Niers Pizzorni some cover. That clock is going to start being a little bit of a sticking factor here for the Leprechauns as they're going to have to make their move, surely, as here we go. 7 seconds left. Kirix is moving. It's been held in place. Can he reset this one? 10 seconds left on that cap. 9 seconds. Keep your eyes on that time. And Niers Pizzorni now turns around. Kirix is low. There's the reset shot they were desperately looking for. Only Potomako, Zenef, and Niers Pizzorni alive. Potomako is left on nothing, but these guys are all damn low. Niers Pizzorni, Potomako, and Zenef need to make something count here. They can still turn this around. 3v3. Cap underway. Sensei backing out. Muppety and Jack still in the battle. Niers Pizzorni not taking that shell. Zenef still alive, and it looks like Zenef's trying to get the hell out of there. Oh, bounce comes in. Muppety does not land that shell. Jack now pushes forward, getting into the action. That 5100 will land it. Gets a little bit of damage back, but one more shell will take down Niers Pizzorni, but with only 1 minute left, they must find these remaining 2 players.
Yeah, Mako is trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. He probably won't do it. Muppety does end up missing that shell, and he's going to have to try and get something, but I think Jack is on reload. Zenef is just scampering up towards A1, 51 seconds left on the clock. Sensei desperately trying to head on, and I think he might have still a couple of shells left in that autoloader if he can hit them, but Potomako and Zenef splitting off left-right, splitting up the forces from Drooling Leprechauns, who did a fantastic job of defending their cap against the surging forces of Denial eSports. But at the moment, Sensei's doing it perfectly.
Let's see if Sensei can take down Zenef. They are both very low, let's bear in mind. Zenef will spot him out. Jack might have just found Potomako as well. This could be all over. Nice work from Zenef. Doesn't get the second shot, however. But now Potomako in a 1v3. Muppety has got a big chunk, but the other two could fall. 10 seconds to stay alive. Can he remain in this one? Potomako tries to back away. Oh, but Muppety lands it in time. And the Leprechauns pick up the first map. Very well played in the end by them. And, well, I've got to say it, that was a little bit of a tentative one.
Muppety hit that last shell while he was moving.
Very
in an
impressive.
IS-3 where everyone knows in the IS-3 your reticle is like yay big when you're driving. So a nice little shot there by Muppety. I think at the end of the day, it's always hard to push like that. It's always hard to make that move. I think a bad decision by Denial eSports. I'm not sure if it was a bad decision or if they just executed it poorly, because there was basically two moments which lost it for them. They should have sent, I think, 2 tanks forwards. They should have taken Jack out immediately because he did a lot of damage.
He was left alive
in
for
that
so
5100
long as well.
Pretty much in the open as well. And that was a big problem. And then once they came around, it would have been easier for them to engage. Those 5100s were on the hill. But at the end of the day, it was just a call they had to make. Obviously, that it didn't end up working at all. Drooling Leprechauns do take it 1-0 at this point in time. But yeah, it was. They might as well try it. Drooling Leprechauns one's going to be playing aggressively. I think Butcher should have been in the fight a little bit earlier. He's having a little bit of problems, I think, as a player. It's been a couple of times where I've seen he's been out of position. Maybe just because of the tactic that you're reacting quick enough, not reading the situation quick enough.
And he used to be such a pivotal player. You know, Butcher was one of the biggest
Butcher and
damage
Elian
dealers.
were the two playmakers for Denial.
And they've lost Elian. And now Butcher not being in the right frame of mind or not the right positioning, whatever's catching him out, is costing him a lot of moments in this. And it's strange to see such a big, prolific player struggling to make that impact here. But obviously, first map, congratulations to the Leprechauns for picking that one up. Fantastic start for them. And do you think mentally now for Denial, this could start that little downward kind of fall here? They struggled in their previous games. You know, they just about scraped away with some respectable scoreline, but losing out overall. You know, if they lost on the first map here, do you think this could actually harm them just, you know, in the confidence aspect, going, you know, we needed this game. These guys, they're good, but we're better. We've been finishing top 3. You know, our World Finals performance was great. And now they're losing out in the regular season. Is this that downward spiral that could catch them out?
I hope it isn't. I hope they can pick it up and it's just one map loss for them. I didn't think their execution was particularly brilliant, but sometimes it's just the way it goes.
Yep.
They have to make a call, and sometimes that call is right, sometimes that call is wrong. We'll have to wait and see. I think Denial has to take this one. This is Drooling Leprechauns has picked this map, which is a little strange. I think they have been doing pretty well though in general, so I'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think generally Denial is hopefully not going to be too disheartened. I think they're going to be angry. I would hate to be on their voice comms, but hopefully
they're an emotional team.
It's going to change into passion, and they're going to be able to level the scores all even here.
Well, as you mentioned, next map is going to be Himmelsdorf. Now, this is the choice of the Leprechauns. They're going to pick this one up. And is there any reason you can think they'd go for this? Or do you think it's just one of those maps, everyone knows it, they've played it enough times, they can probably perform as a team a little better, you know, on this one that's quite a regularly played map than maybe some of, you know, like Steps, for example, or, you know, Cliff or something that takes a little bit more kind of cohesion? Do you think this could be a map where you see a little bit more danger on? Because Denial, you know, once again, I look at this and I look back to Elian obviously having that incredible moment here. Without him on this and without Butcher being a big playmaker right now, could this be a bit of a struggling map for them, or do you think they'll pull it together here?
I think it's 50-50. It really is up in the air at this point in time. Drooling Leprechauns have been dangerous on this map before. A little bit short-sighted in some of their moves. You can see their inexperience and their fight coordination definitely is lacking in some areas. Yep. Denial also in many areas lacking at this point in time. Their decision-making definitely comes to mind.
Yeah.
Fight coordination has not been too bad, quite what we'd expect in the end of the day, but I think this is going to be a little bit more dangerous for Denial eSports, because if they do go 2-0 down, obviously, at the end of the series, if you're 1-0 up, you take the win, so you definitely don't want to be going 2-0 down.
Well, I think we're just about ready. Guys, let's get that video rolling for Himmelsdorf. So welcome into the second map here in the north in red, currently leading 1-0. It will be the Drooling Leprechauns against the southern side of Denial eSports, starting in blue and looking to find their way back into this matchup. What are we seeing so far, Oliver?
So pretty much a standard start from Drooling Leprechauns, sending a couple of their tanks towards the right side, Jack and Snake Guy Finn. Maybe a little bit more resources as a standard start towards that left side, towards the 1-2-3 line. A couple of tanks heading up the hill, Sensei, KiriX, and Muppety and Message, and those two IS-3s sitting up towards the 8 line. And for Denial eSports, a quite heavy push up towards the hill, I guess. Butcher, Poto, Mako, all starting to make their way up there alongside, I believe that's Snip there in the tier 1. and Nia Pazzoni in the IS3. So two 5100s, a tier 1 and an IS3. Carmen at the bottom of the hill looking after the 8 line. So a lot of resources for them. Not sure what they want to achieve, but at the moment it's 3 versus 2 if they do have the engagement on the hill. So obviously Denial will be able to come away as the stronger team with the more HP, with the more tanks alive. Meritorious does get spotty out there. Mesh's just got to be careful that he doesn't get himself connected in that turret. Obviously the front of the turret on the IS3, just the top part here, is the only real vulnerable part for that tank, as Count does make his way up towards the hill. So Drooling Leprechauns sitting at the bottom of the hill, just trying to make sure that nothing comes off it too quickly, not an aggressive move. I think this is just going to happen for the next 2-3 minutes, and then they're going to rotate back off round. Whilst Denial eSports want to take that hill, they want to get the higher ground, and then come up with a plan after that.
So, as you mentioned, Butcher, yep, Zorni, Ponomako and Snip all up here. Snip just did get spotted out, but I think he actually spotted down Kirek, Sensei and Count. So good work from Snip, staying alive as well, as Count will be possibly walking up to his doom. Well, rolling up, should I say, to his doom. He's going to have to be a little bit careful here, as there's a hell of a lot of tanks waiting for him. And already, though, Materius has taken a bit of a chunk of damage. The 5100 from Ponomako will be looking to try and alleviate some of that pressure. And a couple of shells fly towards Message there, who was challenging down the middle. But Count probably not going to be sticking around too long this time. He needs to be a little bit careful here. There's a lot of guns on that hill and a lot of firepower. But whose position do you prefer right now? Who's got more possibilities to pull something off?
I think both teams are pretty even. For me, I would say it's more of a dangerous position for Denial because they have so much tanks on the hill, but because they're not spotted. None of the heavy tanks for Denial have been spotted on the hill. It's still pretty much all even. It's okay for them. They don't have to worry too much. It's only when, let's say, two or more, or greater than 2, I should say, tanks get spotted on that hill, that they have to really start worrying, because they know, Drooling Leprechauns know that they've committed a lot of resources. They know they can push up. They know that they can push along the 1, 2, 3 line. Even the, well, maybe not even the 8 line. The 8 line's always a bit of a risky push when you have the opposition on the hill with the majority of their tanks. But Count just trying to get some spots out. Message in the middle has been doing a great job in the IS3, already connected a 404 damage shell, 14 damage shell even, on to Meritorious there in his IS3. So HP advantage definitely in the favour of Drooling Leprechauns. A little bit of a HP advantage, not much. They are starting to rotate back around now. The whole of Denial eSports starting to rotate back around. The 25100s, the IS3. The only one left on that hill is obviously Snip and the tier 1. Count Snip going to be having the tier 1 battle as we would expect, as we have often seen many times before. Keeping them spotted, and maybe Denial looking for another way in. As I said, the hill, their first priority, and then once they know that there's not going to be any engagement there, they can rotate back around and come from, well, in this case, the 2-3 line.
So Butcher, Ponomako and Pazzoni, the players we saw stacking out that hill, will be on the rotate down to that 1 to 4 line. Obviously, Ponomako at the front merely with Materius there. Carmen also spotting down towards the train station. But actually, a little bit of a counterplay coming in as well from the Leprechauns. They will be rotating as well. I can imagine they're spotting this one out, or trying to just use that kind of sixth sense almost to work out where these guys are going, as Materius, who did take that shell earlier, will be at the forefront here in the IS3, joined by the 5100s of Ponomako, Butcher and Pazzoni not too far behind. And here we go. Finally, the information comes through as the first couple of shells come out. Dangerous situation to be in. Snake Guy Finn is there. He's going to spot out Carmen. Sensei's got a little bit of backup now, as Mupty and Jack will be just around this corner. Materius, Butcher, Ponomako still moving in. They are still looking for the engagement here. They're not messing around at all. Materius will be the first one forward almost. Sensei is out on a limit touch, but let's look behind. Who's that coming around the backside here? This could mean danger. Ponomako already well aware of this. Little bit of a chink in their armor. Does defend it off. Gets the straight out exchange with Message there. And well, we're going to have to see if they can fight their way out of this one. Pazzoni does take a shell. Gives one back as well. So it's a little bit of a back and forth at the moment. Denial made the first move, but the Leprechauns dug in deep, and they've got a nice little setup to maintain this, as long as they don't kind of let a little bit of a flank show that could be pushed. And who's got the better situation now?
Definitely Drooling Leprechauns. They have almost every side apart from behind, and Denial will definitely struggle to rotate around because of message position. Zenith is the only one who can really make the plays and bring this one back for Denial eSports. They're going to have to really fight their way. They're really going to have to be the better team in terms of player skill to beat Drooling Leprechauns at this point in time. 4 tanks, let's say 3 tanks, and it's not included tier 1s in that equation, have gone 1 shell down. Sensei and Message for Drooling Leprechauns have taken a shell. 4 minutes left on that clock for, I think, Drooling Leprechauns' game to lose in this point, because they are in the better position. But the rotate is now starting to head around. Near Pizzoni comes better off against Message there. 442, a huge shell, scything Message down to about 50% HP.
Yeah, a bit of an unlucky bounce almost there for Message, but it's the way the cookie crumbles. And I love this play connect from Count and Kirex, putting themselves a little bit further back. Already Zenith knows what's going on. He's got Butcher with him, so they might have to deal with Kirex, but Count should be an easy man to deal with if it comes to this. And this is a push on both fronts. We've got Potomako and Nias Pizzoni moving in, but they've got Sensei watching that cross. They're trying to get through towards Message. Message gets the first shell. Potomako's in trouble here. 1 more shell surely will do the job, if not 2. He does have backup. Message, though, must land these shots. He gets the first, but I don't think he's getting it. Oh, he does! And this could be a real heated battle now. Every single tank is in trouble. Nias Pizzoni goes down as well. Zenith and Butcher split off earlier on to deal with the tanks at the back, but the engagement happened to their teammates. The cap has begun, and an attack on all fronts from the Leprechauns might just turn this one around. And look at this, Materius as well. 2 around the back, 2 in the front. Not much you can do here. He's got so much pressure now, but Butcher and Zenith have to pull off something incredible to turn this fight around.
Well, I'm not sure what Potomako was doing then against Message, but he bounced 2 shells, and that cost him his life for absolutely no reason at all. Then obviously Meritorious was going to go down pretty much a given at that point, now leaving only Butcher, as you said, and Zenith left for the side of Denial eSports. A lot to do as well. Kirex not making it very easy, hitting on that shell, and obviously Snip has got to try and reset that cap. I think he will. He might go down to Count, but you don't have to really worry about that at all. Butcher receiving another shell, and he's caught out.
Yeah, but Butcher's trying to buy time. That's his main job, I feel, right here. He's doing good. He's keeping Mupti, Kirex, Jack all busy. Only 1 man split up, but Butcher will fall. Now it's down to Zenith and Snip to save the day. Only a couple of seconds really on that cap. 39 to be precise, and you can see the gigantic amount of players rolling across the map towards these guys. Zenith is, however, back now, so he can take down Count pretty easy. You have to be careful here. He can't really waste these shells. I think he just missed one, if I'm not mistaken, so this could be vital here. It does finally take down the pressure off the cap, and now Zenith and Snip have to play this one so smart, so carefully, even just to draw this one out. But at the moment, the Leprechauns look like they're out for blood.
They are out for blood. They're probably going to take down Zenith in that 50-100. Sensei has got the cross on him.
Let's see if he can get the shots. Nice work from Kirex there, and Sensei coming around the same time. Zenith, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. He might take down Sensei, but there's 3 other players waiting in the wings. Kirex now arrives. Jack's almost there, but the clock is not in their favor at the moment. They can still put tanks here. Finally, Zenith falls. Snip, the last man standing, would have to reset this perfectly to make this one count and still be able to escape. I don't think he can do it. I think he knows that as well, or he might just be playing this perfectly to the clock. 1 chance, 1 opportunity. This is all he's really got against 3 tanks here. Can he do anything?
It really depends if Jack and Kirex get into the cap in time. They do. That's going to be 3 tanks in the cap, scything it down to about 20 seconds. So 52 seconds left on the clock, 16 seconds left on the cap. Snip has it all to do, and he's on the wrong side of the church. I don't think he's got time to get back here. 9
seconds left. I think he knows what's going on. I don't think he can get round in time. I think you're absolutely correct. Brilliantly played from the Drooling Leprechauns to pick this one up. Surely not going to hit that last second shot here. Base has been captured. The Leprechauns 2 maps in a row, pulling it off against Denial eSports. What is going on with these guys right now?
I have no idea. This is not the Denial, this is not the Lemming Train, this is not the Mouse Sports we've seen from days past. This is not the team we expect.
Worrying.
I mean, there's really one thing that sticks in my mind. When Potomako was getting flanked, was flanking around onto Message in the IS3, 50-100, IS3 got the first shot off. That gives you about 11 seconds to kill the IS3. So you have enough HP, you have enough damage in that SA-47, but he misses 2 shells. So about 3 seconds between shots, 2.5 seconds between shots. You miss 2 shells, you're only going to get 1, and the IS3 is going to finish you off. So that is an unacceptable an unacceptable miss rate for a player who's should
He's
be
a
at the top
top-level player.
from 10, 15 feet away. That's just not acceptable for him at all. He's only a couple of meters away from him. So I think for Denial, Zenith Butcher on that flank, trying to take down Kirex in that 5100. That's another mistake, something he also did on Cliff. And at the end of the day, Drooling Leprechauns just had to push. First of all, message take down Potomaco, which should never have happened. But then Drooling Leprechauns could push around, take down Meritorious there in the IS3, and at the end of the day, just clean up the rest of their tanks.
It was so well timed. That's the thing. I see plays like that, obviously executed to maybe a higher level, by your Virtus Pros, by previously Dignitas. Now I don't know what they're up to, School Bus, but that was what I used to love seeing, all the different sort of levels that these teams could go to. Obviously the initial strategy, going for that 1 to 4 line, all the tanks go down there. Okay, fair enough. But then splitting their attention, as the Drooling Leprechauns did, sending, I think it was Kirex, as you mentioned, on one of the tier 1s to kind of pressure the cap maybe, or at least make them think they might. And they just split their attention perfectly, and they just executed really well. Like, I am very impressed so far with the Drooling Leprechauns. The way they're playing, the way they're using their players.
Spot on.
It really is, and it's great to see, I love the old Mouse Sports guys, now Denial eSports, obviously. I think they have so much talent, but we're not seeing it at the moment. It feels short-sighted and a little rushed at times. I think this is the map if it was going to turn around on and then build up from, it was going to be then.
Yeah.
But now, moving into steps, the Leprechauns have confidence that's sky high now, and you could imagine what Denial eSports voice comms are like. They're quite an emotional team. They are quite passionate, but they also, with passion, as you mentioned before, there can be a little bit of anger and frustration. That's surely going to be a huge factor here now. They have to overcome that issue as well as the in-game ones. Could this cause an upset on steps, or do you think this is going to be a bit more passive play from the Leprechauns?
I think this is the one which Leprechauns has to be most scared about. Leprechauns have proved themselves now twice. Ensk on Himmelsdorf, also in previous match days, they've definitely proven themselves on city maps.
Yeah.
It's really on open maps, your Prokhorovkas and your steps, where Denial have been known to shine. Prokhorovka, they had the second highest win rate after Virtus Pro, so they are a very strong team. They have that synergy between the MX 3090s, which really does count for something. And also the T69s get thrown in there as well, and you've really got a deadly combination at the end of the day. So I think this map is definitely going to go into the favor of Denial eSports, just based on previous games they've had. But in the moment, they are looking like a broken team, maybe a team that's just hasn't got the motivation without Elian in there. We're going to have to wait and see, obviously. But if any map does get won by Denial eSports, this is going to have to be it.
Well, yeah, it's do or die now. 3 maps, 3 wins, and you're through, pretty much. A very clean victory coming in for the Leprechauns if they pick it up here. And as you said, bit of a testing factor. City maps, as we know, they're fairly linear. They're quite not easy to play out, but they have a set plan almost. And as we constantly say, or you brought up, back in the previous seasons, your open maps, they're like an open canvas. You can pull off these strategies, but you need to be absolutely pin perfect with the way you execute, the way you pull people from direction to direction. It takes a lot more cohesive ability. Now, from the Leprechauns, I probably would have doubted them coming into play, into this play day, saying, yeah, they can do that fine. Now, I feel as though they might be able to do it. After watching them on Himmelsdorf, they displayed something that I saw previous teams doing who I felt had some brilliant tactical insight and just some good responsive play. If they can kind of mirror that kind of aspect on this map, I can't wait to see what we've got coming up. But the tank picks, I think, have been made. Is there any surprises there? Or is this our standard kind of down to the T steps?
It's pretty much the standard stuff here. Triple AMX 3090, double T69, double T1 for Denial eSports, and for Drooling Leprechauns only one change. They've gone for the double AMX 3090, triple T69. So Denial have got one more AMX 3090 to be expected, because I think they have the better AMX 3090 players. I was talking about that synergy they have. Whilst Drooling Leprechauns have one more T69. So just that switcheroo. For me, I obviously prefer the triple MX 3090 lineup on a map like Steps. I think the teams have missed a trick with the MX 3090s on that flank.
Well, guys, it's do or die now for Denial eSports. Let's find out on what could be the final map, Steps. welcome into the third battle here. We are live into steps in the north in blue. It will be Denial eSports. These guys now currently sitting with 2 maps against them. This could all be won here if the Drooling Leprechauns in the south in red can step up and do the job. What sort of beginning are we seeing from these two?
So it looks like a little bit of a defensive start from Drooling Leprechauns. Obviously, Message and that AMX 3090 is going to be going forwards, trying to get that early information. But for Jack, Kirex and Muppety, they're going to be staying back in the base, trying to maybe hit some shots off as Denial eSports maybe can try and head towards that trench side. But instead, they are going to be sitting up towards their base, a little bit TCM-esque, I guess, with quite a defensive status, quite a defensive posture, I guess you could say, with Meritorious and Neopazorni sitting quite close to each other in proximity. With the T69s, obviously they're the ones who want to be getting that real damage down. Butcher, Carmen, Poto, Mako and Zenith kind of surrounding them a little bit like a sheet, and maybe going to try something together. But the Denial eSports is split up a little bit. They are surrounding their cap, but they are split up across the map a little bit more than, let's say, Drooling Leprechauns, who are starting to go in. Message goes offensive a little bit at the beginning. Muppety does receive that first shell, down to 1-1-4-0.
Yeah, I like the play from Kirex and Message here, making the way through, and actually it's caught Zenith out quite heavily. Zenith could be in trouble. He's already down quite low, 588, just about missing that shell there, so trying to scamper away before another will connect, as finally his teammates might be able to get something back in the form of some damage. And last time I witnessed these guys on here, Butcher was perfect against, I believe it was Wusa in the way he played, but now not so sold. But we are seeing a bit of a move through the center of this map. Zenith heading straight through, Butcher on the flank there. And actually, this could be an interesting play from these guys. We are seeing shells going back and forth. Bit of an exciting game to begin with, it looks like.
Yeah, Poto Mako's on the rotate. Jack Muppety trying to cross them out, but maybe they're on reload. Poto Mako does receive a shell there in his AMX 3090. Butcher and support. Carmen starting to make his way, and this is going to be hard for Denial eSports to take the cap, to take the base, because of Sensei's and Snake Guy Finn's positioning in those 2 tier 1s. So maybe going to be a little bit more of a question of, can they coordinate the T69s, can they corner those MX 3090s, because at the moment Denial eSports are down, they are on the back foot, they've lost a lot of HP. Zenith down to about 50%, maybe 55%, and only Muppety in that T69 has received 1 shell for the damage he's managed to put out. That's pretty goddamn good. And at the moment in time, I think Drooling Leprechauns just rotating around, maybe trying to get themselves into a good position to fend off this aggressive action from Denial eSports, who are at the moment mere meters away from their cap.
Interesting stuff. Neopazorni again gets caught out there. Not sure that's wrong. I think it was Sensei actually letting those shells fly. But it definitely did connect. Neopazorni does receive at least 1 there, down to 1098 HP. So, interesting positioning. You know, back when I look at the previous seasons, there was never this usage of the center of this map, but it seems that teams are a little bit more confident to put their faith in that slight defilade and hide down the ridge there, and actually make their way through. So Potomako and Neopazorni now heading up towards the opponent's cap, but will there be a move here, or is this just a little bit of a play to make them ease off a little? Because even Butcher's moving up quite aggressively. Is this to force the opponents to make a move?
Well, they want to take out the tier 1s if they can. Snake Guy Finn has to go down. He will go down. Butcher doing a fantastic job there in his AMX 3090. Snake Guy Finn just not reacting quick enough for my liking, and, well, certainly for Butcher's liking. Then that's the positive thing. Denial eSports starting to slow down a bit, maybe get into their stride, taking the first frag here on steps, and they need to take this win. They are 2-0 down. Drooling Leprechauns only need to win this map, or even draw it out to guarantee them a draw, guarantee them that 1 point. Obviously they want to be getting that 3 points, but this is not looking all too good for Denial. Neopazorni receives another shell, 212 damage coming out of there, and they are spread out between kind of their defensive base action and also the enemy's base. It's like pretty similar to Ensk. Sensei does receive another shell, well, 1 shell at least. That's some damage going in favor for Denial eSports. Let's see if they can add a few more to that count. But Drooling Leprechauns quite happy to sit back as long as they've got all the angles kind of covered. They can be pretty confident, they don't have to worry too much, honestly, and make sure that they have the line of sights on each other, using the T69s in the best position possible to defend the MX 3090s, and they should be alright.
Yeah, I do worry about Neopazorni though. He's been caught out in this position quite a few times. Down quite low, actually exactly the same as Materius, 878. Not too ideal. Zenith the lowest out of all of them, however, being taken down 588. We saw that at the very start as he had to get the hell out of there. A little bit of damage done back and forth between these two, however. So, maybe Denial can claw the way back in here, but you really don't want to go drawing this one out. You want to pick up the win if I was in Denial's shoes, but it's not being made easy by the Leprechauns there. Butcher, however, big playmaker on this map. Finally, you do get to see him in that position that he can do real work in. Backing away from here, coming back with his team, maybe to support a little more, but as I said, I like Denial eSports on this map. I think Butcher can have those big games here, so hopefully he can kind of step up to the plate a little bit. But with 4 minutes and 20 seconds left, what sort of options are left now with that sort of time limit?
They have to gather all their tanks, and they have to push one flank from Drooling Leprechauns. That's the only way I see this working out for them. That triple T69 of Drooling Leprechauns, it's a little bit slower to react, a little bit slower to rotate, so they just need to find their way in. They need to make sure they don't get spotted too early on, trying to flank around, not give Drooling Leprechauns any breathing room. And then they should be alright. They should be able to take down an AMX 3090, which is all they need to do. Message does receive a shell. Finally, Meritorious and Potomako managing to connect those all-important sneak shells. And it looks like Denial eSports slowly starting to drag the HP back towards their favor. Not quite in their favor yet, but it's almost 50-50. 3 minutes and 33 seconds left on the clock. They are rotating. This is not going to be a draw, I guarantee it. We might be a draw, but with one tier 1 left or something, because Denial eSports, they have to push, they have to be aggressive. There's no point getting that 1 point. They must go for the 3 points. They must go for the at least the win. They have to win it here. Message is going to try and do the best he can to spot out Snip, getting out of there, rotating back around in that tier 1, and looking like desperate times for Denial. Not even managing to get the advantage on an open map, whilst Drooling Leprechauns happy to sit back, happy to wait for that team to go forwards, and wait for them is the best thing they can do.
At the moment, as you said, we are seeing the move now coming out from Denial eSports, or at least starting the move. Potomako and Butcher both moving up, back towards their cap, bear in mind, but that is where the opponents are currently hiding out. Message count, Kirex, Jack, and Muppety all there. Butcher isn't stopping as well. He's going to head straight over in that 1390, so definitely looking like making the most of this. We've got Niers Pizzorni joining him as well with Materius. There's the move about to begin, and who's this going to go in favor of? Because Message might be called out here.
Yeah, this is going to catch Message out. I'm not sure how quick these T69s react. Jack is heading over Muppety Sensei as well, but it might be too late for Message.
Let's find out. Message is in trouble. He's got 2 tanks staring him down, but Kirex and Jack are there. Message could go, but Butcher moves in. Will Message hit the shot? 1v1 pretty much here. He's missed it, but there we go. It's going to be Jack coming in and doing the damage. Now Potomako takes a beating down so low, but here we go. He's been taken out. This is brilliant work from the Leprechauns. Do not tell me they can do this in 3 maps. The cap, however, has begun. If the Leprechauns don't get this done quickly, they could be in trouble. Kirex is low. Niers Pizzorni and Materius, blow for blow, really taking him low there as a couple more shells fly past, and 36 seconds left. This is an attack on all fronts from Denial eSports.
Denial eSports are starting to get back into the favor. Message has gone down. Potomac and Butcher obviously for Denial eSports. Jack's on reload though.
Yeah, keep your eye on those two. They will be the ones doing the work here overall. Niers Pizzorni still finding it out, but there's Jack coming in. But now it's all on Jack and Sensei pretty much. They're going to have to do something incredible. Right now, Jack will be keeping them busy, but Sensei's done the hard work. He's taken down those 2 tier 1s who are applying that pressure. But still, it's down to a 2v3, really a 2v2 if you look at it that way. Zenith and Materius. Materius in that 1v1 with Jack. Sensei not too far out, but good HP left towards him. Zenith now joining over. Jack could be surrounded. I don't think Sensei's going to be there in time. Going blow for blow. Materius should fall first if he lands this shot. Can he do it? 1v1. He's done the job, but quickly now Zenith comes through, looking to try and even the odds here. He's going to be in that 1v1 with Sensei soon enough. If Jack takes him low, this could mean trouble. Zenith, he gets a lot of damage. Zenith could fall here. Finally he lands the shot, but Sensei is hot on his heels now. Sensei has to take down Zenith. Here we go. 1390 against 1390. Zenith, the veteran, could be outdone by one of the newcomers, and Sensei's done it. The Drooling Leprechauns, in a matter of 3 maps, dismantled Denial eSports. What a incredible Just absolutely incredible game there.
Unbelievable. Jack doing 2.4k, almost 2.5k
Wow.
damage in that T69. Those 69s, I said, are going to be the pivotal tanks for Drooling Leprechauns, and they certainly were. Zenef was the highest damage unit for Denial eSports, doing 1.6k in his AMX 1390. And I think, again, that comes down to two things. One thing was Sensei hitting that very lucky shot against Carmen in the cap. I think it was Snip and Carmen.
Yes,
I'm not sure if it was two tier ones or one.
Yes, it was both tier ones.
So both tier ones. Carmen was sitting up behind Snip, and Sensei somehow managed to luck it out and hit Carmen behind there. Or maybe, I'm not sure how he did it, but he was such a fantastic pixel shot. And that reset the cap, and that allowed Sensei to come back around and make that a 2 versus 2 situation. Drooling Leprechauns had the HP advantage, also had the better reload. Snake Eye Finn, Jack in that T69, he had the most amazing reload times ever. Every time he was off reload, he could push around and attack tanks from Denial Esports who were on reload. So pretty much doing damage for free at the end of the day, and that's going to bring the scoreline 3-0. Denial Esports looking pretty shaky. I think for me, I'm not sure if that was even something Alien could have rectified.
It felt like a broken team. I don't know what else to say. They looked like they lost a lot of the spark that made them brilliant. You know, some of the moments they used to pull off, they were never the big aimers. They were never the big damage dealers. It was
I think
always
that's
an
one
issue.
of the reasons why they even lost this one. They're even worse at aiming than they usually are.
Oof. That's harsh words from my co-caster.
Well, they know it. They know it. I've told them.
We have.
Times.
They give us grief back. Don't worry. They give us some grief as well. But still, I'm a little disappointed and a little bit worried for these guys because I am such a big fan of their play. You know, sometimes their tactics, their in-fight coordination used to be sublime.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big thing that made them for me. They're a team that constantly, in those little 1v1s or the 2v2s, the split battles, they were perfect with their cohesion. They don't seem to have that anymore. Whether that is Alien not being there is a discussion point for another day, but it's certainly a worrying sight for any of you Denial Esports fans. Obviously, a team that did get a lot of fans after those World Finals. They turned up and did incredibly in front of the home crowd, but clearly lacking whatever was doing it for them before. But I think the Leprechauns need the attention now rather than what's going wrong. It's what are they doing right, because they seem to be on a little bit of a tilt now going towards the right direction.
It's impressive. It really is. This is a team that qualified not last Saturday, but the Saturday before. So 2 weeks ago, they found out they're in the Wargaming.net League Europe, the biggest World of Tanks, the biggest wargaming tournament ever run, and that's just incredible. As Victor Kisty was talking about the grand finals, 40,000 teams, and to be in that top 12 we have in this season is just amazing. So they are doing really well. They're beating the old dogs. Yeah, you know, for Denial Esports fans, they wouldn't be too disheartened. Obviously, everyone knows that Denial Esports at the beginning of the season always
tend to struggle.
Always have a shaky first few match days. So maybe this is just a continuation of that one. We're gonna have to wait and see how that one pans out as we go through the season a little bit more. But as you were saying, Drooling Leprechauns looking very strong, looking very planted as a team, not making the mistakes, not being as uncontrollable, not being as unpredictable as some of the other new teams that joined us in previous season. I have to say, as a trend in general, the 6 new teams who joined us for season 4 are all looking pretty strong. They're looking pretty consistent. I think, although Wusa may be sitting right at the bottom of the table, even they, who are not doing it very well at the moment, not performing as we would expect them to, are doing better than any other new teams that's joined us in previous seasons.
100%. These new teams coming in are looking to really shake it up. But speaking of new teams, the next game we've got coming up will be Freefall. And they're a team that's been a bit hit and miss, but they've been getting those big results in, and they're up against School Bus. So big game coming up. Where are your predictions? Well,
the Finns are looking like they're on fire at the moment. So maybe I'm going to have to start slanting my favour into their ballpark a little bit. But for me, still School Bus is the more veteran team, more seasoned team. I think they're not going to fall as far as Denial. I think they have a little bit more aim to them and a little bit more individual player ability than Denial does. Although they have great player ability, Denial has always been about the synergy you were talking about, as opposed to Apple doing 1 versus 3s or 1 versus 4s or whatever he does. So for me, I think School Bus is going to take that series.
Well, it's certainly something to be looking forward to. And something else you guys are going to be looking forward to is Melly, who will be coming up in just a second to tell you guys at home how you can get involved with us here in the studio. Because our predictions mean nothing. We try and help you out, but normally we're pretty damn wrong. So you guys need to get your predictions through. I can imagine there might be some gold on the line if you get it right. But guys, do stay tuned. We'll be back in a minute with the social media with Melly.